once you're trying to survive, you can't grow. Every story is unique to your destination. The trials that you face and don't face is actually what channels you. The information you need to move to the next level, some people have it and will hoard it from you. A lot of times we mistake success to be a destination. It's a journey. And as long as you're constantly solving a problem, will always be in business, and you must be open to failing. I think failing is very important. What we need to become 10 times better is the mindset.
I'm with Luto Taylor, NAC. Olu Akinpeloye. I know him as Luto Taylor, right? He's the CEO of NAC Apparel. If you don't know NAC and you're in Nigeria, okay.
We have more work to do.
Let's assume you have more work to do. NAC means Nigerian Articulate Culture Collection. The collection is K. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you. I'm particularly interested. I'm always interested in all my guests, right? But I'm particularly interested in you because I know you had a vision to be in a place where global brands are being mentioned. And before my very eyes, I'm seeing it, I've seen it, right? So I would like you, how did you come about the name NAC? I think that's the first question I would like to ask.
Interesting. So I grew up loving fashion. And on my journey to loving fashion, I fell in love with a couple of brands, international brands that I had to start asking questions why I liked them. And one of it was they had catchy names. Secondly, they had in-depth meanings. So by the time I got into Covenant University, there was a third layer to it. So they had catchy names, in-depth meanings. Then Covenant University taught me that you must be solving a problem. And so NAC for me came from the question asked. So I would say, growing up in Kaduna, being an accessory in my mother's tailoring shop, was what influenced my love for fashion. But I knew that loving fashion was not enough. How do we solve, what was I going to do with fashion? So I thought of a problem at the time. And at the time it was so interesting. 120 million Nigerians with no identity. So the identity we had was our tribe. But our tribe, we've seen our tribe die over time. I mean, as Yorubas, we don't even dobale anymore, to greet people. So I thought to come up with a brand that will change the narrative of how the world sees us as Africans, how the world sees us as Nigerians, using fashion to tell our African stories. So NAC for me was just it. Coined out of brands like DKNY, YSL, FC UK, NAC is a controversy. I mean, to some people, it means a lot of things. It's either SEX or you hitting something, But I knew that I wanted to create a brand that when you encounter it, the name, you must be really dense to forget it. So the meaning of it was now where we came up with the Nigerian Articulate Culture Collection. And in its expression, it's a Nigerian brand that expresses the different cultures of Africa.
I see.
Yeah.
The logo. Explain the logo. I think I have an idea, but
the logo is also an inspiration. And the reason permit me to use the word inspiration because when I think about who I was 17 years ago, I will say that I can't give myself the credit to have come up with such. Every institution has a crest, has a seal. The British have the lions, some people have the elephants. But if we were going to position ourselves as the African brand, we needed to express Africa as it is. And honestly, it sunk in my head immediately I had that question. Wow. When I think about it, it still gives me chills still today that I came up with it. It was dumb to some people at the time, but it's existed for 17 years. So this logo is an expression of Africa. there is no culture in Africa that cannot relate to the power of a woman.
Yeah.
The most significant part of creation in itself.
Yes.
You know, I express the logo as God is a woman. God is not a man, and neither is he a woman. But I express it as God is a woman because a woman brings life, into the world, nurtures life, and feeds the life that has come before her. So that's what the logo stands for.
Amazing. So it's two mothers.
Yes.
Backing
babies,
their babies.
back in the future.
Back in the future, yes.
And feeding the present.
Amazing. That's beautiful.
Thank you very much.
All right. So you had a vision. Your mom influenced you one way or the other.
Oh, yeah. Clearly.
Clearly, right?
Yeah, yeah.
In Kaduna.
Yes.
Right. You came to Covenant University. You started business in Covenant University. Or did you start before Covenant?
No.
Okay.
I won't say what I was doing there in Covenant was business. I'll say, but yeah, I understand what you mean.
Yeah.
I started the business in Covenant University, but it was more passion for me. It was a passionate journey for me. Being able to, I grew up thinking that T-shirts were made in heaven. Yeah.
Wow.
And every time I say it, it reminds me of how far I've come. Because, when I was influenced by, Western TV, and anytime I took, material to my mother's tailor to tailor what we saw on TV, they never got it. How T-shirts, fabric with a stretch, wait to be that. So I came from zero, to be here today. And so for the longest time, I was still in the awe of the fact that I built heaven. Anytime I see our products, and when we started, information was not as easy. There was no social media.
Like this.
Like this. So yeah, but my mom started that journey, and in the house where we have a lot of doctors, a lot of professionals. I also was going to become a professional. Well, I graduated a professional.
Yes.
And dabbling into fashion. I think it was. She was super impressed with what I was able to accomplish.
So you wanted to do engineering like your dad?
Yes.
Right. So, why was it that there were more opportunities in fashion than?
I think I don't think there were more opportunities in fashion. I think we're one of the first waves of people that get to try. At the time I decided to go into fashion. Everything was on my side. So I don't have one of those sad stories where my parents didn't support me. No. I don't have one of those ones. But I think something happened. Our firstborn is a doctor. Secondborn is a financial person. The thirdborn is an architect. The fourthborn is a doctor. The fifthborn is right now in social work. The sixth is a doctor also. And a lot of them married doctors. So I think my father was like, we've done all this. Let's just gamble with this last one, and that's what I say, because when I was going to start fashion, I was first afraid to go home to tell my parents that this is what I'm doing. But when I showed my mom, she was so excited. She showed my dad, and the support was tremendously beautiful, So as much as I wanted to study engineering, because that was what it was. My dad studied engineering, worked in NMPC. Okay. That's how, education was aligned. But me saying, going to Covenant, I must give the credit to Covenant. Yeah. That environment gave me the balls to say, you know what? I'll never work for anybody. And they preached it so much that we're building world changers, not job seekers and all that. And I think that was one of the things that really gave me the confidence to say, you know what? I'm not gonna look for a job. I'm gonna go and pursue my dreams, and it's been a beautiful journey.
You've had your first store in 2012.
Yes.
And you started the business in 2006.
Yeah.
That's a long time. What were you doing in between that?
I think time is a facade. In 2006, when we started when I created the brand, it was not a business. The excitement for me was that I had broken the chain of my mentality. do you know the joy? Even till tomorrow, one of the things that keep me going is when I see strangers wear NAC, because they don't know the journey. I think between 2006 when I started, I was 19 to 2012. You know, we didn't have anyone to look up to. I was in school, you know, when I was doing my NYC, when I graduated, I was working in a bank. I remember that I was still hawking my T-shirts on Okada bikes, you know, trying to sell to everybody I see. And I think that journey from 2010, when I was done with my NYC, you know, and I said I wanted to launch my first brand, what had happened was the usual, finish school, go for masters.
I see.
But all my siblings have gone for masters. I'm not looking up to any of them. With all due respect, like, I felt like I had a different path.
Yeah.
And when I told my parents, my mom was worried. Hey, Oluwa. You know. There was no pastor they didn't take me to.
Interesting.
You know, it felt like I had an issue. Why don't you want to go for masters? UK was tantalizing. It's a way to run away from the reality of Nigeria. But I felt like, no, there was juice here. I was able to convince my parents to give me my master's money. And I went on to kick off to start.
Well, I couldn't.
You couldn't convince them?
I couldn't convince.
Your mom is a military man. No, I remember, that's why I felt like they were subtle with me because they had seen it all. I mean, I think it's,
siblings.
and 3 are doctors. Like, that's the epitome of education as it is, you know.
And that means they did a good job.
Yeah, you know. So
Nigerian standard.
What I didn't tell you was that when I went home in 300 level, I had made T-shirts. And 40 T-shirts. I went home, I wanted to go and sell it to my guys in Kaduna and all that. I made a gift for my mom. I remember it was a sweatshirt that had her brand on it, and she was so excited.
Wow. I
hid the bag from my dad because he would say that's why I'm feeling. You know, because I wasn't an A student in school. I was not doing so well. You know, when my mom showed him, his feedback was what gave me all the confidence I needed. Because
your dad's feedback.
Yes, you know, he went on to say, "This is amazing. You made it here." I'm like, "Yes." He said, "Wow, that there is no difference between the stuff I spent £20 for to buy in the UK and what you brought home. You know, how much are they for?" And I was like, 2,000 naira for each T-shirt.
Wow.
You know what he did? He bought T-shirts for himself and all the members of our family, including the caretakers, the driver.
He bought it off you?
Yes, he bought almost 20 of it, and he paid 2,500, not 2,000 naira for it. You know, and I think that for that I'll always be grateful.
You may not understand my reaction. There are many, like you said, that's not your story. You had a supportive family.
Oh yeah, I did.
Many people out there did not have a supportive family.
Oh yes, and
do not.
If I didn't have a supportive family, my story would have been different. I'll probably not be able to sit down here today. I think that every story is unique to your destination.
Yeah.
So the trials that you face and don't face is actually what channels you.
And you were hiding it from him?
Yeah, I was hiding it from him. I was. Oh, he didn't stop there.
And it became your first biggest customer?
My biggest customer
at that
till
time.
date. Because not only a customer, my investor. I had gone home for first semester. And he said, "What do you need to, you know, grow this thing without affecting your education?" I'm like, "Daddy, I need money. You know, with money I can do this thing." And he said, "You know what, I'll give you your school fees for the next semester, for the next year. And use the next 6 months to do business and pay your school fees." The money enter water.
Everything.
Not everything, you know, not everything, but a lot of it. We made a lot of mistakes, you know. And at the end
of any new business,
you know, and at the end of it, when I went to him, it was like, oh no, he knew that I was going to, you know.
I'm going to ask a lot of questions. I'm almost going to ask, what informed that orientation? What did he? In like 1 minute, without taking so much of your time to talk about your dad, right?
Yeah.
What do you think informed that decision? That boost that will boost your morale, right?
Oh, yeah.
Knowing that your dad can trust you with your school fees, and you didn't use any diabolical means on him. I'm just messing with you.
I know.
Because you answered. So, like, what informed that you could have that confidence in you? Have you been doing things before that you say, okay, my son is really responsible, or is it just his person? As in, his upbringing, if you can say that in like 2 minutes.
So my dad is a FUA.
Okay.
You know, I know that I was
a bookworm.
Yeah, I was fully grown when he had gone. He was OND, then HND. I saw my dad travel through school. You know, even at a grown-up stage, and I was last born. So I think what had happened was, if I was to ask what happened, I would say because I was able to show a proof of concept.
I see.
The product made him see that, oh, there is substance here.
Yeah.
You know, and he was willing to support.
Same quality I get at £20
was what he was able to get. And also, I think that he had worked in the social system. He has worked with the government system so long that he knew that even when I graduated as an engineer, he will not be able to get me a job. You know, once upon a time, that man, no man.
Yeah.
You know, but as the year unfolded, we found out that a lot of people whose parents worked in government parastatals couldn't get their kids in it anymore.
Yes.
You know, so we needed to find a new path. So I think that all round, I don't know what he was thinking, but because he was open to wanting to be of great help to me, I saw no reason to tell him a lie when it came to money. There was a time he forgot that he had paid my school fees because I had a sibling who was in a more expensive school.
Yeah.
You know, so I could have, you know, played that role, but I always used to remind, oh, you've paid my school fees and all that. And I won't say my dad was a very wealthy man, but he was very invested in education.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, he was very vested in education. So my dad will probably never buy you clothes, but he'll send you to anywhere that you can gain proper education. And I'll forever be grateful for, you know, what he did with me and Covenant University, forever.
All right. Yeah. So to your business now.
Yeah.
Nakis, how many stores do you have? I know you have very massive online presence, so the stores may not quantify your influence, right? They do, right? How many stores do you have now?
So we have 5 stores at the moment.
Wow.
Yes, and our online store has been around for over 10 years.
I see.
Yeah.
So what has been the most challenging in the past 10 years? Any business that has crossed 10-year mark is already a successful business anywhere in the world, right?
Yeah.
So because if you're still existing, you're part of the top 25% that made it, right? That's the statistic.
Oh,
so
interesting.
What has been your biggest challenge? And are there times that you just wanted to throw in the towel, like, I'm done?
Oh, yeah. So my biggest challenge cannot be... The challenges come in phases and times.
Please.
You know,
Go ahead.
So there are times where there is the lack of information that is a challenge, you know.
The lack of information.
Yeah. So the secrets to excel, you know, the secrets to actually, the information you need to move to the next level, some people have it and will hoard it from you. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Hoard it from you.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I think that, I mean, that is not important now. I had to understand this after a while because there were things I had to find out myself that I knew that people knew 5 years ago, and they were close enough to tell me, you know, and they didn't say it. So one of the things I had to change. I also learned that it's also important sometimes to go on your journey. So that's a problem.
Yeah.
You know, that was one problem at the time. But there's another problem I like to call Nigerialysis.
Nigerialysis?
Yes. It's a disease that is really eating the concept of Nigerian businesses. Doing a business in Nigeria is so beautiful. You know, it's so tasking. that you're constantly swimming against the tides.
Yeah.
Imagine you at the front, at the bay of a beach, and you're trying to go into the ocean. You know, there are quite a number of things that can push you backwards.
Yeah.
You know, so like you say, being in business for that long is, I mean, for me, is something to applaud myself for. Then, but there is also, like, in phases, you know, I moved from being one person doing everything. So I was the tailor, I was the designer, I was the printer, I was the finisher, I was the salesman. Then you now get to a place where you are no more a generalist and you need to bring in people.
Specialist.
So people, you know, I think people is still one of the biggest problems.
Yeah.
Because while we are trying to build a business, the world is feeding you with Gen Zs, Gen X, Gen Y,
mental health generation.
Yeah, I've not even really encountered a lot of those people, because one of the things I also try to do is that I put a freeze to my age. So somewhere in my head, I'm still, you know, a 28-year-old boy somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, my thinking, I try as much as possible to be logical.
That's beautiful.
In,
How did you come about that?
I hang around. I like to hang around people that are younger,
I see.
just to first teach them and learn from them. You know, when we're born and when they're born are two different times. So I just like to say I'm always this young guy, with the way I think, with the way I dress, you know, everything. I like to go with the flow. But I think that one of our biggest challenge, you know, is being able to sell the dream, sell the vision to people enough. And I understand what the issue is. The issue is very deeply rooted, because a lot of people that you want to bring on board,
you call it.
yeah, are looking to survive. And once you're trying to survive, you can't grow. You know,
Once you're trying to survive, you can't grow.
yeah. So survival stifles growth, because if you know that all you need to eat for the next 1 year is safe, you can now go on to say, you know what, I want to take on a
Oh,
challenge.
Maslow's law of hierarchy. If you've not eaten, you can't be thinking, oh,
Yes.
why am I on earth?
So survival.
Yeah.
A lot of people are in survival, you know, and survival really does not mean money alone.
Yeah.
A lot of people have money and still surviving, because it is the reason why a lot of the monies that businesses need to succeed are in the bank accounts of people, but they will not put it out there because they are still surviving. So it's a mental space. But once you can clear out that mental space and say, I'm willing to take another risk, you can now grow. So even for the people that I had to learn this from all sorts of leadership that I have tried. So tacit knowledge has taught me that the people I need to bring into our organization are the people that I must first solve for survival. Like ensure that you're being paid well enough to just know that all that I need to do, you know, all that I need to survive, I have it. So now let's grow together.
Yeah. Physiological, then from physiological, you go to safety, then love and belonging, then esteem, then self-actualization. So that's the Maslow's hierarchy of need. Yeah, thank you. So, your business in the past few years, what are you most proud of? You said you've mentioned one, quite all right, which you said you are making things from heaven, more or less. You're making things that are made in heaven. So I'm sure you're still in that, will I call it euphoria, right? So, but aside from that, what are you most proud of about NAC?
So what am I proud of?
Most proud of.
Most
about
proud
NAC.
of about NAC. Is that I said I'll do it and I did it. No matter what happens, the fact that I was able to say that I'll do these things against all odds, you know, and what I encountered the experience best when I meet people that have known me for 17 years and they say, in fact, more than 17 years, I had a best friend in Just One who lost his mom and left my school and moved somewhere. I never had an encounter with him until just about 3 weeks ago. Someone called me and he said, Luto. I was at a meeting, I couldn't pick up, so I sent him a message, please send me a message. So he called me Bishop and Cross. I'm like, anyone who calls me this knows me too far, you know. I called
Bishop
back.
and Cross.
Yeah. So when he called, he said, this is Abdul Karim. I'm like, Abdul Karim. So I had two very close friends. One passed, he joined the military and passed. We're no more close. But I would say that the last time I heard from him was maybe 27 years ago.
Wow.
Yes, about that. And he was like, oh, that he followed my work recently. He saw that I'm doing very well with fashion. He now reminded me that I had this conversation with him when I was in Just One.
Wow.
Yes. You know, and I was like, oh, okay. So it's not a Covenant University. I went into Covenant University with the hope of doing fashion.
Yeah.
And I think my journey was tailored for me. A lot of times we mistake success to be a destination. It's a journey. And to enjoy that journey is to live successfully. Because there is no end point to it. Because when I think about it, I got into Covenant University, my roommate, Michael, had a desktop. At this time, desktop was gold, man. It wasn't, kids of these days will not even understand. You know, and he used to draw on his computer, so he taught me. My first design was on his computer.
Wow.
You know, so he telling me that I always had the dream to want to own a fashion brand one day. GS1. You know, just...
That's like grade 7.
Yeah, like it gave me a different, like I was just like, wow. So I've been on this journey this long. I think I was made for it, you know. So, I mean, in answer to the question, I really, really think that the fact that I said I will do it, and I did it.
That's beautiful. I think that's inspirational. Selling your brand to Nigerians. You know, before now, it's made in Nigeria. It was looked down on. But I have my wife loves, when you were coming in, my wife told you about 2 of your pieces that she bought randomly. And you said, you're hearing for the first time, right? That I really love this, is really comfortable. And this other one is really comfortable. How did you get to that point? Because it's CEO scripted, a lot of young guys, even older guys who are just going into entrepreneurship will be asking questions. How do I get people to see my brand at par with international brands? What did you do, right? What are the things you did to elevate your brand? I wear your shirt to play football, to go out to very casual, meetings, right? So, how did you get people? Because I see it the way I see a Nike, Adidas. Sorry for it's NAC. Sorry, it's NAC. I see the way I see NAC.
That's the dream.
Right. So,
that's the dream.
how did you elevate your brand? It's important that people know. I would like you to, if possible, like you to share stories and other things. Yeah. So I would like you to, let us know how you elevated your brand.
So, I think it's time and chance. But more importantly, first of all, the essence was something that was properly articulated. From day one, we knew that we, being the Nigerian Articulate Culture Collection, our mission is to change the narrative of how the world sees us as Africans. And in doing that, we knew that what we needed to do was we needed to promote Africa.
Yeah.
When in 2006, it wasn't cool to promote Africa. Like you said, nobody really cared.
It was even like a diss. This one they made in Nigeria.
Made in Aba, made in this thing. But we decided we were selling Africa before it became cool. Now everybody is selling Africa. But we did it in 2006. One of the things, the words for the vision might have been more articulated and fancy now. But it's the same meaning from inception, because one of the first projects we ever did was to test the market. So right there in Covenant University, it was October 1st, around the corner. And I just felt like, as Nigerians, with so much great people, we don't even have anything that unites us as a people. So our first project, when we started as a brand, was to create Nigerian T-shirts. And I remember it was a green Nigerian T-shirt. And I went from room to room trying to sell it. Some people owed me, some people did not pay for it. But I made sure that I sold the first 100 pieces.
Wow.
And people started rocking it. Immediately people started rocking it. That same October 1st, like 2 nights to October 1st, people came to my room and were like, we want that T-shirt. We want that T-shirt. And I remember going all the way to Yaba to go and buy fabric, making more. And I made another 100 pieces. That was one of my greatest success that I ever encountered, because I'll go back to 2017 and what happened with 2006. But when we did that, I remember going into the chapel and seeing everywhere in green and white, like people who rock Nigeria were cooler than people who were just, and standing from the top balcony just watching people, it gave me, I saw that a day will come in Nigeria that Nigerians will be proud of who they are and they'll wear it boldly on their chest. And that was, for me, a proof of concept that what we're trying to do was difficult but was achievable.
Yes.
And as long as you're constantly solving a problem, you will always be in business. The problem might not be so sexy because the Nigerian problem is so sophisticated. From the fact that we were first created and designed to fail. When you build a structure that is pillared to fall, and the structure no gree fall. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Because that's how it was designed, So, but we were born into the structure that was supposed to fall, and we now became the pillar that held the structure together, and that's who we are. What was designed for disaster has now become, the thing of glory. With Afro music, with African fashion, even with the confidence of questioning our colonial masters and all that. I think that the journey, I call it the African awakening. The journey started for a lot of us, and for those people who had the guts to actually jump on it, went ahead to do it. So we grew the brand, from the vision. But at a point in time, we jerked into survival. And survival became, we need to sell cloth.
Understand that it's a business.
We need to keep the lights on, man must chop. But we still try to stay in the Africanness, but we lost the essence. And we're just coasting. And something happened in 2017 for me. Shortly after I got married, I went for a retreat in Dubai, and Dr. Oludayo, was the speaker at that retreat, and he said something. When you go and that's why it's beautiful to go to gatherings like churches and all that, because when people are talking, you are receiving, your frequency is taking the message it wants to take. And what I got from Dubai, leaving Dubai, was when you are lost, always go back to the beginning. Never be afraid.
When you're lost, always go back to the beginning.
Go back to the beginning of your why. And I went back to the beginning, and I went back to the story of how we sold 200 T-shirts that made the whole school look green. And I said, why did we even do that in the first place? And I said, we were trying to promote a better Nigeria. Nigeria was worse in 2017 than it was in 2006. So the problem has not been solved. Then we now reinvented that concept and gave birth to the League of Extraordinary Nigerians, which is the jerseys that we have moved all over the world, and we've done it in large scale. So in answer to your question, I think that always visiting your why and, sticking to it and giving people reasons why they must key in with your why is very important. And times will change, but your why shouldn't change until that problem is solved. Today, Nigerians have lost more confidence in Nigeria than they were when we were only 120 million Nigerians in 2006. Now we are over 200 million people, and slavery I feel like slavery is happening all over again.
Economic slavery. or financial.
Slavery.
Slavery. Yeah.
Anything that will make people migrate, to any other part of the world. They don't need to put us in,
Dungeons.
in boats and everything anymore. But that's what's happening. So we need, and again, we were a building that was designed to, people literally built a structure and set a fine stage, a fine audience to watch the building collapse. Imagine a work of art like that, and you are now there, and in 60 years, it ain't no grief for.
The young Africans watching, and some would like to go into fashion business. If you were to give them step by step, principles, directives, or direction, how will you guide them to say, do this if you're going into the fashion business? You're getting to the point where you're very known. I see a lot of big names wear your brand, right? Some may be paid, some just love you know. There are young Africans here who would like to be like you, own a fashion brand. They have the dream, they don't know how to go about it. So what are the steps you give them, principles, tips, to go into this business?
For people who want to go into fashion, and I won't call the business we do fashion. I'll just say you going into business. I think the same principles, cuts across, and they're basic things. First of all, it's best you find, a problem you are looking to solve. Make sure the problem is big enough. I think that is what it is. And find a problem in which you have passion. The solution is a passion for you. Because when the road is rough, it's your passion that keeps you going. I also know that what it takes to start a business in 2023 is different from what it took to start a business in 2006 or even 2010 or even 2015. Today, there's a lot of conversation around fast money. And the truth about it is that I'm not a big fan of it.
Really?
No, I'm not a big fan of it. I think that skipping the journey and getting to, the results is you missing out on the experience in itself. The most successful people, that we admire today, we don't admire where they are, we admire how they got there.
Are you sure?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Or if the people who don't admire the people who admire where they are and how they got there are the people who
just fans.
Fast money, and solving a problem and making money is good. But when it comes to the fashion space, I think it's evolving drastically. I'll tell you that in another 3 to 5 years, there will be more money made in the Web 3.0 space than even in the physical space, especially from the gamifications, of everything, the NFTs and all that. So you want to start a business today, I think, you want to start a fashion brand today, I think that you need to look at it from a community-based point of view. You want to ensure that you get everyone around you to support you. The journey to being able to even do your marketing. I think that you must be willing to try, and you must be open to failing. I think failing is very important. The more you can fail, the better for you. So I think that works.
Okay, so more or less, be open to. You must find a problem you're looking to solve. You must be passionate. Be open to failing. Will you say, in the past 10 years, I'd like you to give me an example of somewhere you thought you were going to make it big and maybe you failed. Do you call it failure or a learning curve? Or you just, I know you're very direct with things, so give me like an example of a time where the past 5 years, we feel that this, then you can balance it with where you were really, we know 2017, you were really successful. You had a successful campaign.
A successful campaign is still a failed one. So let me explain. That's actually, the most successful campaign is still the failed one. So what is failure? You set out to want to do something and you don't get it. That's what it is. And the reason I choose the word failure is that, the concept of failure is the reason why a lot of us don't try. So you understand failure from a learning curve point of view because of how you have reprogrammed your brain.
Yeah.
But a lot of people who want to try stuff today, including ourselves, is one of the reasons we don't try is because we fear we'll fail. If we know that it's okay to try and not get it, but still do it anyways, because there are other things to get from it, we'll do it. So, looking at the League of Extraordinary Nigerian project that we did, the goal was to reach 1 million Nigerians around the world.
1 million. Is your laptop for me? Oh my head.
It was, but it was a beautiful. I'm a big dreamer. A
million Nigerians
around the world, and I'll explain why. For League of Extraordinary Nigerians, the whole idea is to locate Nigerians that are proud to be Nigerians, that are doing good for themselves and are putting Nigeria on the map. People like you and I, that have decided to go and build something. Imagine that we can influence, between 30 to 50 people.
Yeah.
And we find 1 million of us around the world that can influence 30 to 50 people. We would have made 50 million Nigerians better than who they were yesterday.
Yeah.
So the League of Extraordinary Nigerians is actually creating a group of people that are extraordinary Nigerians and are doing things around the world. But one of the things first, that for Nigeria to become great, we must brand Nigeria. So people see the work that I do, but they don't know that I'm Nigerian. If Burna Boy went on every stage rocking Nigeria on his chest, I think that we'll have more flights coming to Nigeria in the next month. If all these Afro musicians did the same thing. So for me, that was the concept. But we wanted to get 1 million Nigerians wearing Nigeria on their chest, but we didn't get that. So that was an epic fail because we didn't even get up to, maybe 1%, 2% of that. So, but I learned from it. And what I learned was that the way we were going around it was different, was wrong.
I see.
And what we needed to do was make it a story. How do we inspire people more than anything else? So that was a time that I'll say we failed.
Okay. Amazing. So I hear a lot of Nigeria, but you want to go global. So NAC is Nigerian Articulated Culture Collection.
Yeah.
You, if you're not in Ghana yet, you'll be in Ghana. You'll be in the US. Are you just exporting Nigeria, or what's the plan? Are you going to tweak it? Will it be Ghana Articulate?
No. So you see, this is a beautiful question you've asked. No one has asked me this question before.
Yeah.
But when I was inspired to start NAC, it was the Nigerian Articulated Culture Collection for the Nigerian market, because it was designed to solve a Nigerian problem. But it was definitely going to grow to become an African brand. So now our vision and mission is more African-centered, to become the most preferred Afropolitan brand from Africa. So we are the Nubian Articulated Culture Collection. Nubia is a city beside Egypt, and it is known to be a city that the colonial masters never named. So Nubia is an expression of the entire Africa. So it is the Nubian Articulated Culture Collection. So on our pieces, you see the Nigerian Articulated Culture Collection, and you see the Nubian Articulated Culture Collection. It's still the same thing. Nigeria is the country that has one of the largest amount of cultures and tribes in Africa, because it was the Niger area. A lot of people moved to the side of the water, story for another day. But we do represent a huge chunk of Africa as it is, So yes, so to the world, we are the Nubian Articulated Culture Collection.
So in 10 years from now, where is NAC?
I would like to say this just for the fun of it. It depends on where the world is in 10 years.
Yeah. So you had a dream, you had something you wanted to be, and your friend confirmed it that, hey, in grade 7, we discussed this. So left to you, whether the world changes or not, where is NAC? NAC is timeless, right?
Yeah.
So where is NAC?
I think NAC would be at a place where we are the epitome of emancipating the African people from mental slavery, where we are a movement that every African that has awoken, knowing that knowing who their father is and their grandfather and their ancestors are, knowing that I say that not until we know where we're coming from, we can't know how far we can go. So we want to be at the epitome of expressing African culture, to making Africans so proud and knowing that they are not a third world citizen, they are not a third class citizen, but they are built for greatness.
But that reminds me of Fubu, For Us By Us, right? I think the guy's name is Damien. So Fubu, how are you going to navigate cultural challenges, because it's more Afrocentric? How are you going to navigate, cultural biases? Some Jamaican guy wants to wear knack. Some European wants to put on knack, wants to look cool, because in the future, knack gets to them, and a lot of people want to look cool. But they hear the story. It's more African, more Nigerian, and Fubu is not as great as it used to be, but it was For Us By Us. It was black, it was niche. How are you going to navigate that? Because it's important to know.
Thank you very much. I told you that the problem we're solving for in 2006 is 10 times greater today. Secondly, let's even use 2023 as an instance. Burna Boy just filled up a whole stage, a whole stadium of 60,000 people in New York. No one in Africa has done it before. The truth about it is that the world has awoken to knowing that Africa is
the future.
Not the future. Africa is here, has always been. The media was the weapon to colonize the minds of people, to not see Africa for what it is. So when we say something is the future, we're just trying to postpone what it is. I think that there is a word called Afropolitan. It's a combination of Afro and Politan, so citizens of Africa. And Afropolitan is our target market. And an Afropolitan is not an African. It's anyone who is connected to Africa through our music, our food, our art, our movies, whatever. Anything that makes you feel like you're African, What are we talking about? Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton as a brand is very French,
Actually.
Yeah. Gucci is very Italian. There are quite a number of
so these brand is what you make it.
Yeah, brand. Yeah, that's what it is. But we are unapologetic about our African culture. We're not for everyone. I don't expect someone who supports racism to jump on what we do. No. But we are not cut out for everybody. We are only cut out for people who are unapologetic about where they come from, who they are as Africans. And it's in the simple things, the story we tell. We are here to emancipate the black man from how they think. And that's what I'm saying. In the future, we'll be at the epitome of it. If there is already a journey to, removing borders from Africa, so that we can go from one place to another. We want to be part of that journey. So yes, we are using fashion, and the only reason is because there's no naked person in this room. I see. And it means that there is. Imagine that if we could just tell we're rocking Africa here, intentionally. Yes. If everyone in this room was rocking a piece of Africa, and we can learn from it, it makes it easy. There are a lot of beautiful stories from Africa that we don't even celebrate. We should be celebrating it. And
like the Knack story.
Even before the Knack story, the ones who came before us, the warriors from the Dahomey women, all these things, they tossed Black Panther at us. We are excited. But the truth about it is that we should have 100, 150, 200 of these kind of stories to make sure that our kids grow up knowing that I want to be a black superhero.
Will you say you're using your business to express your own version of activism, right? I history. You have some knowledge of history. I've heard your expressions. You want to emancipate the black man. I'm getting the Malcolm X. I'm getting the Martin Luther King vibe from you.
Well, I I hope that, I pray that I can make greater an impact than they did. But activism is not the word.
Okay.
I think education is the word. Again, we have been falsely educated. So a lot of the things that we think we know are based on lies, even as Africans. Not to diverse, not to just jump a little bit more. We are so clueless. We're in 2023, this is what, July, end of July. There's a third world war going on. And no one is talking about it. There are aliens flying the sky, and there's nobody talking about it. These things are real in today's world. But because we've been put in a place of survival, we don't even ask these questions. Africa, in another 30 years, has a greater chance to become a world power. But it
has a chance.
Yes.
I like the word chance.
Oh, yeah. It's a chance. It's a chance. Because we have everything that the world needs. You know, the people, if we do not start making the ones that are coming after us know that it is okay to be black, it is okay to have nappy hair, it's okay to, it's not okay, it is mandatory, important for you to be able to speak your local dialect. It is forbidden for you not to be able to pray in your language. If we do not know all these things, you know, I think that we would only, if there was anything like reincarnation and we came back, we would just be beating ourselves for not acting on it. I think we deserve, what NAC is trying to do is to subtly tell the world that we are greater than the world says we are. Yeah.
I want to go back to round up with business. Yeah. Your products, they are made in Nigeria, right?
No. Okay. Our products are made all over the world, but 60% of our products are made in Nigeria.
60%?
Yes.
That's decent. That's decent. What informed the 60% in Nigeria? What informed the 40% all over the world?
We're a fashion brand competing with the biggest fashion brands in the world.
I see.
How do I mean? If you're following NAC on Instagram and you're following Louis Vuitton, if NAC posts a picture and you scroll past NAC, you see Louis Vuitton next. So we're all on the same high street. For us to be able to become a global brand, we must be able to deliver global quality. Nigeria has her limitations in production.
Yeah.
So does every other place in the world. You know, the skin that likes of Guess and Louis Vuitton use to make their leather bags, some of them are gotten from Kano. The only reason they get them from Kano is because they can't get them anywhere else in the world. So when it comes to the business of fashion, I think that promoting local content is good. But the local content we should be promoting is the one that affects the mind. You know, because if you say you want to make a Louis Vuitton leather bag in Nigeria, it's impossible. Going to reinvent the wheel will be too expensive and almost still impossible. So why don't you go to where Louis Vuitton makes their bags in China or Hong Kong or Italy or France to make it? So yes, but we produce our stuff locally also because we want to have control of, you know, a lot of things. And more importantly, be able to help a lot of, they use the word artisans, maybe I can use that word too, to kind of grow their mindsets to know that things are possible.
Amazing. What would have made your business 10 times better if you had the opportunity? What would you say? What would you say if I had this last year or 5 years ago? Would have been 10 times better.
Knowing what I know now, knowing that it's okay not to be able to do everything. Because a lot of us learned business from a hustle, we are caught up in the cycle of being self-employed and not entrepreneurs.
Explain.
Self-employed is
I know the definition.
Yeah.
But I want you to explain.
So I must have read it somewhere that I can use to kind of explain, but I don't know the term. The terms for
Self-employed
it.
is more like it requires you being there.
Yes.
You're
So
the
there
one
is
doing
there's a
everything.
businessman, there's a self-employed.
Yeah.
There's what's the word?
Chief executive.
No, there's a when you are a professional at something.
Yeah.
You know, then there's an entrepreneur. I think they are called the four quadrants. I think that knowing that for not until you can perfectly walk out of your business completely,
Yeah.
and it's generating more than you.
Yeah.
You're not doing. You're not in business yet. You know, and Vuzu, Abi Vuzi.
Vuzi.
Yeah.
Vuzi Tembakwa.
I love him so much because he's one of the orishas, if I can use the word, from Africa that is also emancipating black people. And he gave a beautiful story of how I think his grandfather had a kiosk, and the man expanded to 2 other garages, kiosk. And this monster business came from nowhere called ShopRite and killed that business off. And in less than 2 years, his father grew this business over maybe 30 years or something. I don't know the exact figure. But what I'm just saying is that what we need to become 10 times better is the mindset. And, you know, I will always embrace the journey.
Yeah. I
would always be the brands that we celebrate a lot today are brands that have been around for almost 100 years. Yeah. And I don't expect NAC not to be around in 100 years' time. If we're going to be living in the moon at the time, we'll be making moon costumes. Yeah. You know, and that's one thing that a fashion brand must be able to do, evolve with the times.
All right, thank you very much.
God bless.
Luto Taylor.
My man.
For agreeing to come on this platform. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
All right, guys. See you next time.